Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. We've just had very important events taking place in the world and in the world of Islam. And there are numerous requests for me to comment on the assassination by the United States, ordered by President Donald Trump of the United States, of that top general of the Iranian armed forces, General Qassem Sulaimani. And with him there were others who were assassinated. Drone in the sky, and the rockets are sent from the drone, and there's pinpoint accuracy. That's why they have the satellites, and they're photographing every single square inch of the earth, which is why we have GPS, because they have every single building already photographed on the face of the earth. So they can send, they have the coordinates, and they can send the rockets with pinpoint accuracy. So they assassinated the general. It was an act of war, an American act of war. Did the President of the United States have the authority to commit an act of war on another country without the permission of the US Congress? That's for the Americans to decide. The law and the Constitution in the United States does not give the American president the authority to commit an act of war, which is to declare war without the approval of Congress. But this is what he did. And now I understand they're clipping his wings. But they committed an act of war on the territory of Iraq in assassinating this general. And in so doing, they forced upon both Iran and Iraq, as any self-respecting people would have to respond to this act of war. And both Iran and Iraq responded swiftly. The Iraqi response was very humiliating for the United States and for Mr. Trump. And that is that the Iraqi parliament voted to expel American troops from Iraq. This was something that was very humiliating, public humiliation for the American president and for the image of the United States in the world, that the Iraqi parliament had voted unanimously to expel. I'm not concerned with who are those who did not attend the session and did not vote. Once the parliament has voted to expel, it's legally done, it's still a massive blow, a humiliating blow to the United States. And I have commented that President Putin of Russia would never have made such a mistake, committed such a blunder that will bring such humiliation upon him and upon Russia. This is the difference between the leadership of Russia today and the leadership of the West. And not only has Iraq responded by voting to expel American troops from Iraq, but the danger is the longer the United States seeks to delay leaving Iraq, the more the likelihood of further humiliation, because this is a matter outside of the authority of the government. It's the people who are responding now. And the people could take action on their own. And so there is greater and greater humiliation left coming to the United States if they continue to remain their military presence in Iraq. Iran also responded, and swiftly so. And they vowed revenge. And the revenge came with what they call a slap on the face. If a man assassinates your general and you slap him on the face, that's not considered to be a terrible response. No, that's a mild response, a slap on the face. In that Iran sent a number of missiles, sent a number of missiles to attack American bases in Iraq. And the Iraqi government were informed about this, and the Iraqi government never protested or said, you violated our sovereignty of the sort. Nothing of the sort. Nothing came from Iraq. So Iraq was in agreement with the Iranian response. And we are told Iran informed the Iraqi government prior to the attack. And the Iraqi government must have informed the Americans, and so they took all necessary steps, and no one was even injured in the attack. But President Trump had boasted and had threatened massive retaliation to 52 sites in Iran if you were to respond and attack us. And when Iran did attack and respond with this attack of missiles on the US military bases, Trump put his tail between his legs and he says, okay, nobody was injured, so no big thing. What a climb down. This is the folly of the American president opening his mouth bombastically and then having to do, he can do nothing about it. And so round one of this is only round one of this response has led to, alhamdulillah, that no war is taking place. We're all happy about that. Everybody's breathing a sigh of relief, because if war had taken place, if the United States had dared to attack Iran again in response to the American missiles being, the Iranian missiles attacking the American bases, if the United States had then attacked Iran, Iran had promised that we will attack Israel. An attack on Israel would mean a massive big war in the Middle East. The Straits of Hormuz would have been closed immediately. No oil could come out of the Straits of Hormuz, no. And the price of oil would have shot up a few $100 barrels, a few $100 per barrel, or even more. And massive dislocation of the economy around the world. And this would have all been a detrimental thing for the whole world if war were to take place with Iran. So the Americans realized that no, we can't take that chance. So they decided to take the path of restraint. But I've written, and Newsday has published my letters. I've said, no, this story is not over. It's not yet over. There's likely to be more retaliation. And one of the things that Iran can do is to put pressure now, if the United States does leave Iraq, then to put pressure on Qatar. That the United States has a big military base in Qatar. And Qatar, which is now an ally of Iran, Qatar has broken away from the rest of the Arabs. And Qatar can tell the United States, we want you to leave. And Qatar can then turn to Russia for protection with a security alliance. And this will be even more humiliation for the United States, being driven out of the whole of the Arab world, piece by piece. But I think the time has now come, after this brazen US attack on General Sulaimani and assassinating him in broad daylight, humiliating attack. It is time for Iran to now reconsider their position on nuclear weapons. We have argued, and the Iranians differ with us, we have argued that the Quran has commanded us. The command has come from Allah in the Quran, in Surah Al-Anfal. Listen to what Allah has said, بَعْدَ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. An Islamic view of the development and use of nuclear weapons. Allah says, excuse me, وَاسْتَعِينُوا لَهُمْ وَأَعِدُّوا لَهُمْ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ وَمِن رِبَاطِ الْخَيْلِ. And build power, Allah says, build power. Build it to the maximum extent that you could possibly build it. what kind of power is Allah speaking about? تُرْهِبُونَ بِهِ عَدُوَّ اللَّهِ وَعَدُوَّكُمْ. Build that kind of power which can function as a deterrence to deter the enemies of Allah and your enemy. You cannot deter the enemy today with bows and arrows. You cannot deter the enemy with conventional weapons. Why don't you understand? If you want to deter the enemy, if you want deterrent power, you have to build power with the use of weapons of mass destruction. That is the command in the Quran. You are not going to threaten anyone to use such weapons. No. The first use of such weapons is clearly haram. But the development of such weapons to function as a deterrent, that is not haram. And if you are attacked with nuclear weapons, with weapons of mass destruction, then the Quran has given us the law of qisas. Qisas is reciprocal punishment. So if you attack us with nuclear weapons, we have the right on the basis of al-qisas to respond and retaliate with nuclear weapons. And so the Iranian argument, which has been used by the ulama in Iran and by the Rahbar himself, Ayatollah Khamenei, that Islam prohibits the development and use of nuclear weapons, is a position that we challenge. And now we say to Iran, after this great humiliation, the assassination of General Qassem Sulaimani, that the time has come for Iran to reconsider its position and to do what Pakistan has done. They cannot stop you. They cannot say, we have nuclear weapons, but you are not allowed to have it. Who are they? Are they the policemen of the world? They cannot stop you. They're already waging war on you. What more can they do? So Iran has now to reconsider its position in the wake of this attack on General Soleimani, and in the wake of crippling sanctions which have been imposed on Iran, wickedly so, by the West. Continuing sanctions and sanctions and sanctions, that it is time for Iran to do what Pakistan has done and to build and develop a nuclear deterrent. The next thing we have to think about now is the accuracy and the capability of the Iranian missiles, which were launched from Iran into Iraq to attack the American military bases in Iraq. It is a military analyst who will have to conduct that analysis. I am not a military analyst. But if the conclusion is that, yes, Iran did possess the coordinates, Iran therefore had the capacity of finding out, getting photographs of the buildings and so on, and the coordinates, and to be able to launch missiles with an accuracy which is commendable. If Iran has demonstrated to the world that missile capacity and capability today, and if that is further enhanced now after this round with the United States, then what will be the implication for an Iran which now develops nuclear weapons and has the capacity to deliver those nuclear weapons with missiles? This is a very interesting subject, and I believe that one of the lasting repercussions from the assassination of General Qassem Soleimani would be pressure being now brought to bear upon the leadership of Iran to reconsider their position concerning the Quran and the development and use of nuclear weapons. A very unfortunate event also occurred within hours of the Iranian response in sending missiles to attack American bases, and that is there was a mistake committed when there was a fear that a missile was coming to attack the Tehran airport. And they shot down what they thought was a missile coming. In fact, it was an aeroplane that was leaving, a Ukrainian aeroplane. And Iran, of course, denied that they shot it down because the leadership of Iran had no knowledge that this mistake had taken place. But as soon as the Iranian leadership got the information and confirmed that yes, someone in Iran had shot down that plane, and then Iran immediately did the honorable thing, the truthful thing, the righteous thing. And they admitted, and they spoke the truth, which is uncommon today in the Western world, because they tell lies and they conceal the truth. Whereas Iran, from the time they had the evidence that yes, we shot down the plane, they confirmed, yes, we shot down the plane, we did it by mistake. And the Iranian president apologized to the Ukrainian president. And of course, Iran will have to pay compensation. But if Iran shut down that aeroplane by mistake, well, mistakes do happen in war, and this was war. This is something that is excusable. Iran has just a few hours ago fired off rockets at the American military bases in Iraq. And hence there could be the understandable expectation that the United States would respond. And when they saw this, what they considered to be a missile coming to the Tehran airport, they said they had only 10 seconds with which to decide. And they made the mistake on the side of precaution by shooting it down. So this is not a terrible mistake, an inexcusable mistake. This is an understandable mistake. And these things happen in warfare. And Iran has done the right thing in apologizing, accepting responsibility, and apologizing. And you cannot use this now to destabilize Iran and try to get public protests and Trump inciting people in Iran to go on the streets and to topple the government. This is wickedness. This is total wickedness. Every government that has been at war, every state which has been at war has made mistakes in the past. And this is quite understandable when one is fighting a war. And Iran was at war with the United States because the United States has committed an act of war in killing the General Sulaimani. They have not condemned it. These who are now condemning Iran for shooting down the aeroplane unintentionally, they have never condemned the United States for assassinating Sulaimani. No. These are a wicked people, a corrupt people who have no moral values and who have no belief in a day of judgment, a hereafter when they'll have to stand before Allah and be judged. It's an essentially godless world. They are a godless people and they want to establish a regime of godlessness all over the world. I want to turn now to another major event which occurred while I was ill and could not come to IBN. And that is a commendable effort made by Prime Minister Dr. Muhammad Mahathir of Malaysia recently in convening an Islamic summit conference in Kuala Lumpur. He knew that it was a waste of time to have it convened in Jeddah because it will be under the control of the Saudis and no one could speak unless the Saudis approved. So he convened it in Kuala Lumpur, and of course the Saudis then got very angry because they want to have control over the world of Islam, and the Organization of Islamic Cooperation exists with its headquarters in Jeddah. It used to be called l'Organisation de la Conférence Islamique, the Organization of the Islamic Conference. That's the French title translated to English. But it was a very awkward title in English, so they changed it now to the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. And this organization has headquarters in Jeddah. And now when Dr. Mahathir called for this summit in Kuala Lumpur, this is the first time since 1969, first time that this body was challenged. This body has remained since the fire took place in Masjid al-Aqsa in 1969, in August 1969. And then a summit conference was held in Rabat in September 1969. And then the organization emerged as the Organization of the Islamic Conference. And from 1969 until 1973, it remained a paper organization. But then when the war took place in 1973, an opportunity occurred. An opportunity presented itself, and it was the political genius of Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, who joined forces with King Faisal, rahimahullah, of Saudi Arabia, to pull off the Lahore Islamic Summit Conference. That Lahore Islamic Summit Conference of the OIC was the one attempt that was made to make the organization strong and give it some teeth. If they had succeeded, the OIC could have been a powerful organization, but they struck 1 year later and they assassinated King Faisal, rahimahullah, and then 2 years later, I think, or 3 years later, Bhutto was assassinated. And that was the end of that. So the organization remained a paper organization all these years, from 1974, the Lahore Islamic Summit Conference, until 2-3 weeks ago, when Dr. Mahathir made the first effort now, since then, to bring together the world of Islam in Kuala Lumpur. Dr. Mahathir is about 92, 93 years of age now. He's unlikely to live for much longer. And this was a commendable effort on his part. And in this summit conference, one of the important things that they called for was to strengthen our capacity to resist sanctions, because that's what they do. Anytime you step out of line, they impose sanctions on you. So Dr. Mahathir called upon the summit to return to the gold dinar and silver dirham for trade between the Muslim countries in order to be able to get around the sanctions being imposed by the West on those who are stepping out of line with the West. Turkey attended the conference, Erdogan, the president. Iran attended the conference, President Rouhani. The Emir of Qatar also attended the conference. These were the high profiles. But out of some 50-something, 52 member states of the OIC, only about 20 of them came to Kuala Lumpur. The most important one who stayed away, of course, was Pakistan. Dr. Mahathir had traveled to Pakistan. I have just a few minutes left. Dr. Mahathir traveled to Pakistan and met with Imran Khan. And Pakistan was part of the organizing committee that organized the conference and was committed to the conference. And Imran Khan would have gone to the conference. But the Saudis put their feet down. Pakistan is a client state of the United States, of Saudi Arabia. Pakistan does not have the freedom. If Saudi Arabia says no, it's no. That's the unfortunate situation today. So the Pakistanis got pressure from Saudis to stay away from that conference. And at the last minute, at the very last minute, Pakistan had to succumb and take a decision not to attend the conference. It is rather sad, really, that we are told that the Pakistanis perhaps may appear to have made a deal with the Saudis. Well, okay, we'll stay away on the condition that you call a foreign ministers conference of the OIC to discuss Kashmir. But that's not the way, that's not the ethical way. You don't make deals like this, no. That's not the way Muslims behave. And the Saudis perhaps have agreed to it, but it's not going to take Pakistan anyway. That's not the road to travel on. The road to travel on is a road of truth, not of deals. And the Saudis, therefore, have succeeded in boycotting that conference, and so many states stayed away. This is a sad indication of the negative role being played by Saudi Arabia. What is the implication for us now of this effort which is made by Dr. Mahathir in Saudi Arabia? In the few minutes which now remain, my message has to be directed to Pakistan and to the people of Pakistan. And that is that the Saudi connection is not good for Pakistan. That Pakistanis have to understand that Saudi Arabia is a client state of the United States of America. That the Saudis dance to the American tune and the Americans dance to the Saudi tune. They're dancing with each other. And Pakistan has made it clear we're moving away from the United States now. We're not going to fight for American wars anymore. The next step for Pakistan is to move away from its client state with Saudi Arabia. And the government in Islamabad can't do that. They're powerless. So it is the people who must now launch an effort in Pakistan, a peaceful protest all over the country with the Islamic movement participating in that protest, to get the Pakistani government to get out of that client-state relationship with Saudi Arabia. That there could be, for example, a referendum on the subject. And the Pakistani government is eventually forced to allow a public referendum. And once the referendum takes place and the people vote to sever this client-state relationship with Saudi Arabia, the Pakistani government will then have no option. At this time, they are in a state where they cannot do anything. But if the people force it upon them, then the government can take steps to get out of this client-state relationship with Saudi Arabia and then join with the efforts of men like Dr. Mahathir in Kuala Lumpur to try to give to the world of Islam more freedom to be able to work to build a more powerful world of Islam in the future. We end by reminding you about my complete set of books, which are now available in Trinidad. There's a number at the bottom of the screen. You can call me if you'd like to order a complete set. I will let you know the price. And if you are abroad, just send me an email. There's an email at the bottom of the screen that you'd like to order a complete set of the books autographed. And then we'll send you an invoice, and then we'll ship the books to you. And finally, I look forward to seeing you at my class at the Jama Masjid San Fernando on Wednesday at the time of Maghrib. We are teaching the Quran and the moon, methodology for study, methodology for recitation of the Quran, and the Quran and the stars, methodology for study of the Quran. Do please bring your notebook and bring your copy of the Quran. Thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My Lord, show me